I think we can all agree that 2020 has been the year of the pivot for so many, whether it's been physically, financially, or emotionally, and especially in our businesses. I think of pivot from the episode of Friends where they're trying to take the couch down the stairs. And that is where we're at. So many of you with existing businesses are having to make micro pivots, adding on products and services virtually, or maybe you were brick and mortar and you had no choice but to do that. And many of you are also coming into the online sphere or entrepreneurship at this time. Well, today I am joined with one of my friends, Stu Brauer. He is a wonderful speaker and educator in running of a business. He's a 15 plus year veteran of the fitness industry, went from making like 3 figures running workouts in a park to a successful micro gym, commercial real estate, and helps many businesses be very successful. So I think you're really going to enjoy for the blunt, real advice on running a business that you'll get from him during this episode, both of us together. And I'm just excited to bring this. I think this is some really good content to continue our series of the last few weeks of real business, real life, and simplifying down so you can also scale up.
Welcome to the Business Bites Podcast, the podcast for busy entrepreneurs. Whether you're an online entrepreneur or seeking after brick and mortar success, this podcast brings you quick bites of content so you can learn and grow anywhere you are. Now here's your host, Rachel Brainke.
Don't forget, as always, you can get the show notes at rachelbrainke.com. And while you're there, sign up for the free 7-day Real Biz, Real Life Challenge that's coming out soon. The wait list is available. I know there's many of you that keep thinking, I'm going to do it, but I haven't, because guess what? Once it happens, it happens. It's live. It's going to be like 5 full days worth of content, lives with me, a lot of great information. You think you get a lot here on the podcast? You're going to get even more there. So make sure you hit pause, head over to rachelbrainke.com, sign up for the wait list, and then let's get going on learning from Stu with Real Biz Talk. Hey guys, welcome to another week of the Business Bites Podcast. I am joined with Stu Brauer this week. And just an FYI, when he and I get together, we have to put the explicit tag on the episode. As you heard in the bio, he is the host of WTF Gym Talk. And so that gives you a little insight, but I promise there's a lot of great content. This man knows so much. We are so very similar in our approach, and we want to talk a little bit about like pivoting during pandemic and just all the things that go with that. So Stu, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to get on here. We'll throw a few F-bombs around, drop some knowledge bombs, have a good time.
Oh, it'll be good. So just as an FYI, Stu is in the fitness industry, talks to a lot of like CrossFit style gyms, owns his own gyms. And so give us a little tidbit of kind of like what you've gone through in pandemic, what you've seen, and then we'll just go from there.
Sure. In the fitness industry certainly is up in probably the top 3 to 5 industries that really got kicked in the nuts in this whole thing, in all honesty. And I don't like to play victim mentality in anything. The industry as a whole definitely got held down a little bit longer, I think, than some of the others, and the pivots were a little bit more difficult, right? A pivot for a gym owner is like this. Well, you can't do in person, and geographically, like weather-wise, you might not be able to go outside, or even sanction-wise, mandate-wise, you might not be able to go outside. Mm-hmm. So you now need to become an online streaming entity relatively overnight, and that is a skill set that most people were not prepped for. Should they have been more prepped for it, had experience with the camera? 100,000%, but by and large they weren't, so everyone is kind of scrambling. Myself, in 2015, I've had this business now for over 10 years. I was able to back out and kind of walk away, and I've got a great team. And in 2015 is when I started WTF Gym Talk, and it was just me and an iPhone, and that's grown into an entire media content handle that I create now. And so my experience and skill set with a camera and editing and production was ready for this. We pivoted very quickly, very early at Urban, and that led to our ability to survive during this thing. So, but from a fitness standpoint, there's 3 camps. There's fuck this. I don't want to be making digital content. I want to work with people in person. If my governor's not going to allow me, I'm just closing the doors. I'm not going to want it. There's number 2, people that kind of just put the Band-Aid on it until the doors got back open, and now they're still struggling for growth. It's not retention, it's the issue. It's growth. They can't get enough people in. And then there's, people on the other side of it that are going pretty deep into this thing, or creating OTT products and having amazing live streaming, efforts. However, they're a brick and mortar business. Their unit economics and that whole economic engine is based around the margins of a brick and mortar and the efforts of a brick and mortar. And now you add in video production, editing, uploading, distribution. You just add a whole other thing. So that margin's going to go very low. Even with the revenue you generate for your online thing, it'll never be enough for the average single gym owner to ever be able to compete with that. So I think we have not yet seen the true fallout of COVID. I think it's going to be 2021 where we see the big drop off of people shutting the doors because they tackled a separate business entity with this online thing that their model was never set up to do.
So before we get into like the whole margin aspect of it, I want to talk, well, first on those three subsets that you just brought out. And by the way, if you're listening and you're not a fitness owner, you're like, how does this apply to me? I'm visualizing this for lawyers. I'm visualizing this for financial planners. Those can more readily go online, but they didn't have the infrastructure in place. Let me ask you this is, and because I feel a little bit of this too, and one of the things that attracted me to your channel, besides, the whole tough love and putting the information out there, was that you didn't give a fuck about video quality. Not that it's not quality content,
Sure.
but it wasn't like it had to be perfect. And for me, with a photography background and everything, I'm struggling with when my reels or TikToks, like the white balance is off. Like, how would somebody that's sitting here going, okay, I'm trying to make these little pivots, how would you push them to get past that paralysis of that?
Yeah, so I think everyone, when they initially, because they got shut down due to COVID, and they go to online video in any industry, whatever you're in, you're initially doing it to retain current customers and continue to provide value for them. Now, if you're going to use that as an ability to acquire new clients, I think that's where quality comes in a little bit, but not as much as the context of the content. And so content creation is simple. It has to be educational and entertaining. Sometimes it skews more to one side than the other, but it's got to be one of those two things, if not both. And if you don't have something to say, and I believe every business owner does have something to say, but I don't believe every business owner possesses the ability to be a presence either in written form via blogs. Blogs still work very, very well. A presence in audio, like a podcast, like what you and me do, or an online thing. They create a YouTube channel, right? And it's really interesting to see people have a hard time with that. I have a local friend here who he's a video marketer, and his thing, he's like, I go after the boring industries. All he does is create YouTube channels and content for lawyers in Charlotte, North Carolina.
The boring industries, I love it.
because why? Lawyers they can afford it, and number two, they don't give a about they don't give a shit. They've never had to do that. However, the marketplace is bigger, times are changing. They want to be the cool relative guy, or maybe he gets a dentist. Like, you're going to be the cool dentist that has the funny videos on TikTok or on YouTube. Yeah. And I think that's the big thing, is what most people are afraid of it. It's not really like, are they really concerned about the quality because they don't know how to use the iPhone, or they don't know what a mirrorless or DSLR is? I don't think so. I think it's people are afraid of, if I put it out there, am I going to get the volley back, or is it just going to be one of those? Is it going to be one of those things? Can I deliver on this? In an entertaining way? I'm sure everyone has something educational to say, but we all know what a talking head video looks like. It can be very boring. Can you spice it up? Can you make it interesting? It's kind of like giving keynotes. You and me have shared stages. We've gone in and done this stuff. There are some people that can get up and speak in front of groups and give plenty of education. But can you be entertaining and keep the attention of somebody? And as we all know, attention is more valuable than oil right now. It is by far the most valuable asset because it's the shortest lifespan. It is the most limited resource. And if you can capture someone's attention span with your entertainment, whether it's your delivery style, the way you talk, whatever it may be, remember Steve Irwin? My favorite example of this. Steve Irwin, boring information. Like, who gives a fuck how many toenails a crocodile has? Nobody. But the dude's Australian accent and quirky, and the way how he got us super excited made it entertaining until a stingray fucks you up and you're done. But R.I.P. Steve. But at the end of the day, entertainment and education, if you can marriage those two, you don't need you could go on YouTube and spend an hour and learn how to use your iPhone to make a video. I don't really think it's the technical aspect of this. I think it's people concerned about, can they marriage those two things and create a worthy product or worthy presence online.
And so when we're looking at those that are either getting into business during pandemic, or they're making these micro pivots, kind of like what you're talking about, doing online streaming of classes, like for fitness businesses and that kind of stuff, what is that the big pullback? They're just afraid to not be able to
Well, also, if you're getting into business right now, you probably seen like an opportunistic thing. Like I don't see a lot of people opening up a brick and mortar who previously didn't already sign the paperwork, right? Like most people, if you were about to pull that, you're probably holding back. Most people I see getting into an online thing we talked about this, before we hit record. You'll have business owners that their business shut down. And that was a sad moment for them. But then they're like, oh my God, I actually still have a good book of clients who will still work with me anyway. And now I don't have the overhead of my building and I don't have any more of my employees. Holy shit, I think I can make this work. How can I do this online? And then it all depends on your industry. There's, telehealth, right? And I don't know if e-law, where that is. Obviously, you do a lot of your work remotely with clients. So there's fitness is obviously pivoting online. Consulting has always been something you could do online. So it just becomes those things. I interviewed a guy for my gym has a podcast, right? And my gym's podcast interviewed a guy. He's a chef. He's doing cooking lessons now online and like hosting entire groups of women at one person's house. And he's up there teaching them how to cook and making cute, funny little jokes and flirting with again, like, I think everyone can pivot there. Most people are either seeing an opportunity or they realize, well, all the overhead of my shit's gone, but I really don't know much else. This is really all I've ever done. So I need to keep going forward with this. I better step up my acumen in editing a video and figuring out how to create a YouTube live account.
Let's talk about the margin aspect, because when I'm sitting back, and you and I have gone through this, we've had brick and mortar businesses, online based businesses. And even before we got on here, we were talking about how we're so lean with our educational content. It basically could be us and my laptop at the end of the day. I feel like that is an attractive part of this to many people making a pivot. It's like a really low barrier to entry, but is that almost causing some problems in that you're looking at people that are investing in all these online courses, they're trying to provide all these products and services, they're becoming overwhelmed, and they're not even laying the foundation simply because the margin is so big, low barrier to entry? Are they setting themselves up for failure?
Yeah, so we're talking about the rise of the infopreneur, right? And that infopreneur has been around forever. There were guys that would rent out the ballroom at a Marriott and they'd sit up there and talk about, buy my 6 CDs that'll take you in passive wealth, rich dad, poor dad kind of stuff, right? So there's a lot of them now because, especially in the realm of digital marketing, Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, social media is such a new platform. It's easy for a charlatan to get up there and say, listen, if you sign up for my course, it's $4,000. All the hocus pocus, I'll pull back the curtain and I'll tell it all to you. When really that guy is maybe one is aggressive, half a chapter ahead of everybody else, because the whole nuance of digital platform advertising it's a constantly changing monster. There's nobody who is so amazing at that they could even be considered a true SME. But yeah, I see, the attraction to what you and me have with our online presence is obviously it's lean. It can be the unit economics are very, very good from a profitability standpoint. It's a high level of fulfillment and enjoyment. I've got a 3-year-old daughter. She's taking a nap right now. If I had a different kind of, I would not be able to, mingle my dad life and my WTF Gym Talk life like I do. And I see people wanting to pivot to that. Now, what I think everyone needs to be aware of, there's always going to be a supply and a demand ratio here. The demand for help in my business is always going to be high. There are way more people with businesses than are charlatans on the internet selling bullshit e-courses. And it just takes an educated individual, though, to say, hey, I don't know, well, you got a mustache, you look like a used car salesman, and you keep talking about this e-course is going to give me 7 figures of passive income while I sit on the beach and a monkey puts fucking tanning lotion on me. Like, maybe I need to, vet that. But at the same time, how many, I'm going to put it in the fitness industry, how many over-fat individuals in the country sit at their couch at 2 a.m. in the morning that are depressed, they're not happy with their lifestyle, their body weight, their image, and they buy the Fat Blaster Gazelle 3000 for 4 easy payments of $49 online. By some, if you looked at the video with clear eyes, like you weren't depressed and upset with your personal health and body, at 2 a.m., you'd be like, who in the fuck would ever buy that thing? But when you are over fat or under profitable or desperate, you're always hoping, you are really hoping that crock of bullshit you're being fed is actually real. You're really hoping that it's, oh my God, really? Is it as easy as that? I need it to be as easy as that.
Well, I think it's important to note here that you really are honing in on those that are jumping into this, selling and making these promises when they may not necessarily, either they have a crappy product or they've never done it themselves.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
super huge right now. I'm seeing
Yes.
people, and it's not to say they're not smart individuals, doesn't mean they're not naturally inclined, but they have been working a 9 to 5. Then all of a sudden, pandemic hits, they get fired, laid off, whatever, and unemployment has run out. So all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, I see Stu and Rachel and so doing this online." They turn around, all of a sudden, have a course how to make 7 figures, and I'm going, "You haven't been doing this but a hot second."
You would love. So I started a new show during the pandemic out of boredom called the WTF Show, and I literally
Of
have a
course you did.
segment called Fuckface Marketing Gurus, where I call and get on discovery calls with these guys, and it's as funny as it's probably funnier than you probably think it is. It's great. You gotta watch it.
How did I miss that?
It's so good. It's it's one of my new favorite things. But here's the other interesting thing too. You and me, like, here's how I look at it. You and me had our brick and mortar, our traditional business, and we had that going well, and we started an online thing. We started an online thing when we didn't need to. Honestly, I started an online thing and I got made fun of. All my fitness colleagues thought I was an idiot. They're like, "Who do you think you are? You think you're Simon Sinek? Like, who do what are you trying to do?" And now an online thing is not only desirable, it's celebrity status, right? Kind of in this online thing. You're either looked at it as a douche or, a charlatan, or you're looked at as like, "Man, I would love to have that." But now people are having to do it out of necessity because the brick and mortar is gone, right? And that is going to be a lot harder for people to pivot on. You and me sit here now, and I started taking street photography courses during COVID because I love my camera. I like taking video. I like vlogging. But COVID happened. I couldn't travel. I couldn't go with you out to Seattle and speak at stuff anymore. So I needed to keep practicing my creativity. So I started taking street photography courses, and creativity for you and me and people online, I think, is something that we just constantly have and mold. Someone who's just jumping into it because I got kicked out of that party. I need to go to this party now. I need to get started here. I think those guys are going to have a short-lived amount of success, if any. And if they're listening to this and you got forced out and you want to go online and you truly are good at your thing, it's not far away to either self-educate yourself on YouTube. I mean, that's YouTube is all you need to do. Just get on there, Google 2020, how to shoot a video, how to edit a video, whatever it may be, lighting, audio, and you can learn your way through there. Hire somebody you trust and knows their thing. But you do have to understand that this pivot of going online instantly, it's a crowded space, much more crowded than your gym. Like in my scenario, the gyms are. I get gyms like, "Man, there's so many people there's so much competition." I'm like, "Bro, you got 12 other gyms within 9 miles of you, 12 others, and you think you're going to go online?" You don't think that's crowded online where there's 120,000 versions of you? Like, get out of here.
And I think this is a good time for us to talk about, and I have hammered this home extensively before, but it's all about like simplifying in your messaging. So let's say you have a quality product, maybe you have owned a business in the past, or you've been self-educating, you pay someone quality like Stu or myself to teach you like the mystery ways that we do everything, which isn't so mystery, it's just all packaged for you and let you know how it goes. But you do this and you're getting to a point that you're wanting to push it out there, but I don't know where I was going with that.
I mean, where my head was going with this is someone's decided to go ahead and tackle this, and they're getting to the point where, okay, and now it's time to distribute this. Who that audience? Because again, maybe that individual. Go ahead. You sound like you look like
No, I completely. I got off. I was starting to get on one of my little Rachel's rants, but no, it's all about like who you're talking to. Because like that's one of the things. Like with you, I could right off the bat, fitness, specifically CrossFit, and then even more niche down because people are polarized by you. But you want them to be polarized, and it also just as strongly attracts people because, like, I'm attracted to the no bullshit talk.
Yeah. Hey, when people ask what is WTF Gym Talk, I'm like, it's a no bullshit approach to running a business in the fitness industry. That's all I do. That's all I know. That's all I've ever done. And you're right. And being polarizing, like I don't think you and me, either of us, use swear words or bombastic bravado for the purpose of being polarizing. I have literally sat in a car with you as we got picked up from the airport, and that's just how we talk. Like, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I come from an Irish American family. I had my family watching Browns games when I was 4 years old, just screaming the worst shit you can imagine at a TV. It's just that. And I think, when people are getting out there and they're wanting to craft their message, however you are naturally, however your friends would describe you, your family would describe you, and the way you are is what you need to embrace online. Because God forbid you ever put on an act, like a BS act, and then someone in real life, IRL, really bumps into you and you're not that real person. that will get around. That will become locally viral in your online community of customers. Like, he's actually that Stu guy. Did you know he doesn't drink whiskey while he works, and he actually goes to church on Sundays, and he doesn't it doesn't even like to swear. That's all just an act that get clicks. It's clickbait. Those kind of individuals will get eaten alive because the internet doesn't forget. It does not forget, and you can go back and find the Facebook photos of them in college. I mean, like, again, it's your history is there. We grew up in this era of are you in this? Would you consider, are you in an elder millennial era? You're right in that kind. Yeah.
You don't call me an elder.
I'm an elder millennial. I'm in this era where, like, I remember what it was like when I first started documenting my life online, and that was MySpace and Facebook early days and things like that. So, I mean, yeah, you can't bullshit your way to whatever. Create a craft, an authentic message. And I think, when everyone wants a cool brand, right? Fit Legally is a cool brand. And me and a guy that I do a segment with, we define cool as this. It's being authentically you and just doing that consistently. Mick Lovin on Superbad, he was a nerd, a complete virgin nerd, but he was cool. Like, because that's who he was, and his character was consistently that through the whole movie. We all have that one friend that's kind of like on one end of the spectrum, but they're always that way. Like, it's John. Yeah, he's a fucking Star Trek nerd, right? Or that's Tina. Tina is got resting bitch face for days, but that's just who she is. But they're still cool, and that's all a cool brand is someone who's authentic and consistently that. And for anyone listening to this that is thinking of pivoting online, and you're like, I'm worried about people, I'm worried about what I'm going to create in my message. Just be authentically you. Whatever your isms are, ask your 10 best friends. What are things I say and do? What are isms? What are Stu-isms? And they're going to come up with a list of goofy shit that make you almost like a caricature. But those are the things that make you real. And if those are the things that have attracted that ecosystem of people to you, I think there'd be a broader 10 degrees out that you could attract people if you really doubled down on those actually real characteristics you already possess.
It's funny you say that, because right before we got on here, I was planning a branding photo shoot because it's been like a year or two. Need to update, got to have fresh content, tired of staring the same old effing picture all the time. And
no, I love that photo of you with the American flag in the background, or whatever that shit is.
Too bad that was like 30 pounds ago, so I can't really share that authentically because that's not me anymore because of the pandemic. No, I love that photo. But I asked the team, I was like, what are the key things about me? And it's not what I teach. It's not even, it's not even what we necessarily want to put out of the brand. It's who I am, because when I talk, I'm me. I don't try to pretend to be anyone else. I mean, now, like, I worked out this morning and I didn't get to shower, and I threw on a sweater because I was getting on podcast recording. Like, my hair is in a messy bun. Like, what you see is what you get. And I even put that out on social media. The other day, oh my God, Stu, I did a video. I was inspired. I think that's what's really important. Like, when you feel inspired and you're unfiltered, and I'm not saying you have to go out and have expletives and all this, but like, you are like, have this gut feeling you want to ask or put something out to your audience. I did this because I was like, I want to pull them about this topic. I forgot I had acne patches on my face. Like, I had like the little dots all over. 36, I have acne. It's awesome. But my audience, and I ended up pulling them later, waiting for that one asshole to say, yes, me wearing acne patches is going to make them trust me less. I had so many people that were like, we just thought you didn't give a fuck. And we loved that. And I'm like, well, I didn't intentionally do it, but I didn't take it down because I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm okay with that. And the authenticity thing, and this is what I think is really important when you're sitting down looking to see who you want to help, or just surveying some of the most popular, successful people. Often there's overlapping characteristics. So like in fitness, I see oftentimes the fitness trainers that are out there are targeting people that they probably were in the past. They were that mom trying to lose that weight. They were that person trying to get out of depression or, to improve their life. And so I think if you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know how to be authentic. And by the way, being authentic online, if you're making this major pivot or just adding it on as a stopgap during pandemic, it doesn't mean you have to tell all. I mean, not everyone knows everything about
it. Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean,
it doesn't have to be an inside look. Yeah. So I look at like the things that were most likely, and I want everyone to think about this, the things that, just like you used to talk about the patches there, the things that we would most likely be embarrassed about are sometimes the most magnetic things to our personal brand and our personality and who we are. Look at Michael Strahan, right? A very successful football player and now morning show host. That dude has all the money in the world to fix the field goal post of his fucking teeth, right? But he doesn't because it makes him approachable. Because how else are you going to feel like you can relate to a multimillionaire, 7'30", football player, sitting there talking about, whatever bullshit script they've got from that day? You can't relate to him. You can't, but that little thing you can. And it's really interesting. I think it's the things that we're sometimes the most embarrassed of that we embrace and lean into. And people 100% are magnetized to it because it gives them the permission to own their own flaws, their own embarrassing moments, things of that nature.
I think I would caution with this because make sure that it's truly, we keep using the word authentic, and like I almost cringe because that's almost inauthentically.
Sure, yeah, it's got such a stereotype to it, yeah.
But we had like this swing, you're talking about the MySpace days. Oh God, what I wouldn't give for MySpace over Facebook. But the MySpace days of like everything had to be perfect. Like you did not share anything negative online. Everything had to be polished. Then we had this swing, especially when all like this freemium information, social media kind of took off to where, yes, share your imperfections, which is what Stu and I are saying, but then it's almost too far. They can't see me because it's audio podcast, but it's almost too far to the other side of the spectrum in that it's, well, let me make up this story. Let me exaggerate the details of this story so I'm more relatable. My position is everyone has a story. Everyone has something to connect about. Like it doesn't have to be this extreme, someone slid in my DMs and talk crap about my body for you to share about body positivity. Like you don't have to have such like this hard-hitting victim-like story. Just talk.
Yeah, you don't have to overshare. You don't have to, you don't have to cry on an Instagram video, on a story or whatever, thing like that. But again, just thinking about like for anyone in your audience, let's say there's someone listening and they were, again, maybe they had a great little bakery in town. That bakery is now no more. Brick and mortar's gone. And again, like, what do you have? If you can't get those muffins, if you're like, fuck, well, what e-commerce? I'm shipping muffins. Am I making stuff and sending? No, like, but could you have enough knowledge in your time as a bakery owner to just go ahead and daily go ahead and give a tip or a piece of the story? Here's something I did that I learned from, or here's something, like if you had something that you think you did very good in your business. Every brick and mortar owner has one skill set that they picked up that was not inherent to the technician skill that got them in there in the first place. So that bakery owner, she might be, again, making those muffin tops, crushing it, cakes, all that, but there's one point where she picked up a skill set, and maybe it was photography. She started seeing that foodies on Instagram was a thing, and she knew that was something she had to have, and maybe she started taking some pictures, and maybe she really enjoyed that, almost to the point where she would like miss her quota of how many cookies she should bake because she was so busy editing in Lightroom her photos. Now maybe that's a skill set she can take outside there. I think every brick and mortar that has got a pivot right now doesn't necessarily have to be on that one thing. So like fitness is mine, and we told her I'm blessed that I own the building that my gym is in right now. If I lease out my building, I'm going to lease it out at a rental rate far beyond what I was renting it out to myself at. And that will be a passive income business. And what's the thing I could do as a gym owner? Even if I didn't have WTF, I'd be like, well, I don't know. I really like the Excel spreadsheets. I really like crunching the numbers. I really like moving the money around. Maybe I could start making content and helping people out who don't understand the finances of their gym. They don't understand EBITDA, like all this other stuff. There's elements of your current business that you probably enjoy doing more than the technician work that got you there. And if you lean into it enough and you really self-audit yourself, you could possibly make a second or a new career stream remotely online and pivot to that thing.
And what I love about this too is, and I talked about this, I think 2 episodes ago, is all about this niching down to scale up. We already talked about being authentically us. We're talking to a very specific person that is niching in this. And I think if you just step back and go, okay, well, niching doesn't even be just who you're talking to, it's what you're offering. So like in that, you're saying, I'm a landlord, I own a building. Well, you could do a whole course on all the facets of that. Like, how do I procure contractors to fix this? Who manages this? Who does that? But what you said was like, I like the crunching the numbers, the Excel sheet portion of it. Then teach just that. Simplify it and become known as the Excel numbers guy or whatever it is. These are things that you can teach, or it doesn't have to be teaching. When I say teaching, you can make it as free resource. Could be YouTube. You could do it as a download, whatever it is in order to build this new business, but simplifying. Because this is one of the big things that I'm seeing from all, especially during pandemic. I'm getting my heart rate's going up a little bit because I'm seeing those that are in our space who teach other business owners. So business to business, they have these huge conglomerates, these big names. They're making 7, 8, 9 figures, whatever. And they are like, you must do it all. You have to offer all these products and services. You got to have a webinar. You got to have live streaming. You've got, podcast, book, this and that. And it's like, that is overwhelming. And as entrepreneurs, or if you have just an inclination, or if you're forced to be an entrepreneur, we already have this mindset of fear. We're afraid of failing. So we feel like we need to serve more people to make more money, which is counterintuitive. That's not necessarily the truth. But you don't have to do all of it. You're doing yourself a disservice so let's go back to the fitness. I feel like there's so many options available to brick and mortar fitness owners who can not only do retention of members like you talked about, but moving into growth during and after pandemic. But you don't have to offer 1,500 different things to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to be a Swiss Army knife. You just need to be a really good pocket knife in that scenario. And for the online individual, it's like, okay, well, so I'll start my blog, and then I got to name my podcast. What am I going to name my podcast? And then I guess I need to be doing some video. Maybe I'll make a YouTube channel. It's like, I would tell you, pick the one medium, because you have to put content out there. It has to be written word, audio, or video. And I would say pick the one that you could get with that has the fastest speed for you. So some people are really good better writing. And I would tell you, go blog on it. Go blog on it all day. Get it out there. Get some confidence under you. Get some of those good comments and good feedback. Get people DMing you and all this. And then think about, where can I repurpose that? So Instagram is actually a great place to take long form content, post up a picture and put it in the comments. You can do that on Facebook as well. And then eventually I've even taken people on personal brand dev and taken them, okay, we're literally just going to have you read your blog into this microphone, and we're going to upload it to Anchor and get you and start a podcast. And anyone listening to it is probably not going to be all the more wiser that you're actually reading from a piece of something you already wrote. And then if you ever feel comfortable enough getting on video, then by all means, go for it. But the evolution of not doing it all when you're trying to get your message out there, I think is key. Stick to the one thing you're good at that you can do the most of, and you'll enjoy doing it. Because you and me both know, creating content, even for people who truly enjoy it, it is a job. Before this, I was literally going ahead and I was lining up. I've got 17 podcasts in schedule right now, getting the thumbnails for them, making sure that all the tags and the descriptions of them are online, because I want to make sure that the guests that come on get the props and all that shit. It's a very thorough gig, like any other job out there. Mm-hmm. So pick the content platform, not Instagram and whatever, but the delivery, written word, audio, or video that you are the easiestly able to go into. And then I promise you that one form could turn into another. I love video. So video is my fave. And I can extract the audio out of the video and just slap that on a podcast if I don't feel like recording a podcast. It's all, you can double dip it, but I tell people just start with one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that, because I've been trying to push out this message to those listening of imperfect presence prevails over perfect procrastination. And I'm speaking this about me and I kind of shared at the beginning of the episode, I feel like because I get in front of creatives, my visual presentation needs to be better. But if I'm going to wait 3 to 6 months to finish my course on digital recording and having a perfect video, I've lost 3 to 6 months of putting content in the runway out there. So at least if it's imperfect, put it out there, get it out there. The words are out, because video and audio is, audio recording just for me is better. I talk a lot, talk very fast, and then the team repurposes it for me into text. But getting that out there is a better connection. It's funny. I was even thinking about this on my run today, because, we have photo session coming up. We're having a videographer do B-roll stuff and all of this, because I want to get that visual present. But I thought back to when I had the best authentic engagement. And it was when I was putting up the shittiest photos of the most random things in my life.
Yeah. And you think about, for you, the things that make people relate to Rachel is, again, you've got the photography background, you've obviously got the lawyer background, but you've got the athlete background, right? You've got the cancer background. You've got, you've got the, even everything you went through with Archer background. Mm-hmm. You've got your kids background. You've got you've got this busy woman, alpha female background. You've got all these different things that allow someone to be like, hey, I dig that sliver of her. I'm not into photography, but I've got kids and I talk like this chick does. I'm picking up what she's putting down. And by putting that out there, and that's where like the blending of your personal brand and your business, it's way easier when it's an online thing, in my opinion. Like WTF Gym Talk, people don't realize WTF Gym Talk has a 3-year-old daughter and loves riding an electric skateboard and bike and loves whiskey. Like they might not know all that through WTF Gym Talk. And that's okay, because that brand serves a very specific purpose, giving no bullshit content on how to run a successful business in the fitness industry. But then Stu Brauer, me, myself, I don't have to dilute who I am to accommodate that. And I think that's another thing some people run into. Do they create it? I don't know if you ever get asked this, because I know you do branding work. Well, Rach, should I start a separate business name and do everything under that, or do I do it under my own name? And there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah, there's pros and cons. And there's even, it's funny, this is something we're talking about, you're saying, you learn something along the way about, building brick and mortar, building your business. And one thing is I did this last weekend was I sat down and said, what are all the things that I've done? Not what I'm putting out right now. So not like I help photographers legally protect the business, but what have I done and grown and learned in my business? And I realized that I have done a really good job of creating a business in one niche and copying and pasting into other niches. And I was like, okay, so niching down to scale up, that's a great little buzz phrase. That's a good way to present it. But the more I thought about it, we've already touched on it. I can do one industry and do really well with 1 to 2 products. Don't have to do a lot. Or I can have one business and serve multiple consumer avatars and it all be under the same name. Whereas I've taken the approach that I have different names for my different brands. But there are ways that you could do that. And I know that's probably overcomplicating it for those that are listening right now who aren't even thinking that far. Just know, I think the point of what Stuart and I are trying to tell you is there is freedom. As long as you are focused, authentic, and you simplify in what you're doing, you know what you're going to be putting out there. This sounds so dumb. Like the world is your oyster. Like that's one of the great things about entrepreneurship. If I just don't want to do a podcast recording and I want to go lay down and watch Law and Order SVU for 4 hours, I can do that. Well, I'm the one that pays the dues later because I didn't do it. Or if I want to offer 4 services versus 2, I'm the one that gets to choose that. I'm not the behest of some boss.
Yeah, that's the thing is when people, it's in the beginning phases, they ask those questions. Like I posed you, should I have a brand name or do it under my name? Should I do podcast? You're overthinking it, and that's an internal mechanism, that procrastination, because you're fearful of getting started, right? I got how many in the fitness industry? It's like I'm gonna get started going running. No, I can't get started going running. I gotta go get new shoes. I already got new shoes. Oh, but I gotta break them in first. Okay, but now it's cold. Shit, now I need I don't have the right clothes to run outside. And I'm going to get an app so it tells me where to run, and I need to know how much it is. How much is an iPhone or an Apple Watch? It's just, you can put one thing in front of the other to prevent you from getting started. And I would tell people, whatever way you're considering doing it, I promise you there are thousands of people who did it that way with success. And I promise you there's thousands of people who did it in a way that would suggest doing it another way. You can't mess it up. You cannot mess this up as it comes to getting started. Now, once you get it started, it becomes a thing. Plenty of ways to fuck that up, right? But getting started, there is no way to mess that up.
No. And and that's the thing, even though I've sat here and hammered on the podcast about you guys are illegal, do this, got to illegal, do that. The reality is the majority of y'all are not doing legal stuff in the beginning. I have plenty of clients that didn't do the legal stuff in the beginning and they're fine. Are there those that have issues and I wish they had? Sure. Like you said, there's no, you're not going to fuck it up. And I actually am sharing all this in that even this last year, I was getting distracted going, because I had a little bit more time. I was like, oh, do I need to be on LinkedIn? Do I also need to be on YouTube? Do I need to? No, simplify. And I've been doing this for almost 2 decades.
Yeah. Like LinkedIn, Twitter, these are platforms. I was like, I don't know. I'm just not going to fuck. I'm sure there's benefits to being there, but it's also, if you're a solo on, again, this online space, you run with much leaner staff, that kind of scenario, it's just easier, like you said, to niche into platforms and areas and services and products that you enjoy, that are working for you, and that allow people to know which channel to go on to find you. It's kind of like if someone's like, I'm trying to watch that show. Is that on Hulu? Or is it on Netflix? Or is it on Apple Plus? Or whatever. Where is it at? Versus 100%, you go to that one channel and find that one show all the time. Consistency, going back to that piece of it. But yeah, I think for a lot of people pivoting right now, now's the time to pivot. You just also need to realize there's 1,000 people, 100,000 people, 1 million people who have done this also. do spending a little bit of time researching, just seeing what some other people have done, get an idea, steal, good artists borrow, great artists steal some ideas, give credit to those that you steal from, and then proceed. Just get moving. If you find yourself having a glass of wine with your girlfriends talking about how you're going to do something, I promise you're probably closer to not doing it than you ever are. People who actually do things don't have wine with their girlfriends and say, I'm going to do this. They cancel plans with their girlfriends 7 times, and then on the 8th time show up, and people are like, where the fuck you been? I'm like, oh, I did this thing.
It's funny. I think also within that is understanding you're not going to be able to serve everyone. You're not going to be able to do everything. You're not going to be able to meet everybody, make them happy. The other week, I have 5 kids, and they're like addicted to YouTube. Sorry, pandemic, learning from home. It is what it is. But they're like merch. I hate that word. Hate the word.
Yeah, merch. Oh yeah, thing on YouTube.
But yes, so they're like, I need Preston Styles merch, and I need this merch, and this person has a podcast, and isn't that awesome? Podcasting's cool. And I was like, your mama has a podcast, and they were like, ew, that's gross. Like, oh my God. I said, yeah, and I'm on
like, Mom, you're not as cool as David Dobrik. Yeah. So and here's the thing though, I love the idea. So my 3-year-old, right? I think of her growing up in a world where she's instantly given not only permission, because others like you and me and all the other people before us have started content creators. Like content creation is like the industrial revolution of this generation. She's going to see that if she has something to say and she can come up with an educational and entertaining way to say it, she can speak it out into the world. The thing I fear is the tying their self-worth and success with things like views. I mean, I've created this entire thesis, and if I ever write a book, it'll be on it, is, you can have a $100,000 business off 1,000 followers on any given platform. You can have a $300,000 business off 3,000. But like, it's not that number, the vanity metric. It's the what do you bench of social media kind of scenario. That's my fears, that people that they'll judge themselves based on those vanity metrics. But I love the idea that content creation is the coolest thing to do right now, and that little kids are looking up to podcasters, and they have that. And so, if my kid grows up and she thinks she's funny as shit, and she thinks she can talk into a mic and make people laugh, then go for it, baby girl. You make your paper, boo boo. And if nobody listens, be okay with that too. That's part of the gig.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that about the numbers, is because I have consulting clients who fitness industry, and they'll have 500,000, 1 million followers, but they're barely even clearing a couple $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then people could log on my Twitter and go, well, you only have 5,000. That's because I ignored Twitter for like 15 years or however long it's been around.
But it's that depth versus width concept, right? And I truly believe the micro influencer under 100,000 units of followers on any of these platforms, that person, if they were developed legitly, and it's not your Aunt Sally's times 100 following you, if you actually really can, that's honestly your best niche, is when you're sitting there at under 100,000, because you can have true attention of under 100,000 6-digit followers. What we see in social media, once you get beyond that, you have vanity attention, you have trend attention, you have all these different forms of attention that don't result into really listening to what you say and probably buying your services. But yeah, it's the online, this entire new world that your kids will grow up in and my kids will grow up in, that you and me and other people will be able to say that, hey, we're still early adopters to this thing. It seems crazy. We really are. Creating online business, we're still all very early adopters.
I mean, I remember when I first started this, I was looking for ways to, how do I run a business? My first business was an apparel store, but it was online. And you couldn't find it. It was long form sales pages that you had to pay to get to. There was no freemium information, or you had to go sit in a ballroom like you were talking about and hear from somebody. And that, I thought I was like the coolest. Like, oh, I'm going to put out this content. As I learn it, I blogged about it. And that's how I grew into what I'm doing, because I was like, I want to share with others, so other moms specifically can do this as well. And yeah, it's just crazy to think that, early adopter. I never really thought about that. I mean, I've looked at the transition. Like, I missed the days when you could post on Facebook and everyone saw what you posted. Yeah. There was no fighting for attention, no ad spend or any of that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But I think my big message here for those, if you're a brick and mortar that's looking to add on online stuff, if you're leaving a job and trying to create your own business, whether, like product-based, service-based, online, it really is all about just getting it out there, consistency, and really simplifying it. Don't overcomplicate it. And I have to tell myself that still all the time, this many years later.
Yeah, no, keeping it simple, keeping it lean. It also makes for your workflow to be a lot easier, and it also makes the job is a lot more fun. Like the one thing I've thought about, with the pandemic, like, hey, if I shut the gym down, right, the gym's done, what would I do? Like, well, once shit got back to normal, I'd get back to traveling, I'd get back to speaking, I'd vlog and make podcasts and make videos all day long. And I'm never happier than when I'm making a video or fucking around on a camera somehow. And that alone is just like, it's just that one thing. Now, should I write a book? I don't know, other guys have written books. They look pretty successful. Maybe I should write a book. I would hate them. I'd have to hire a ghostwriter and just do a dictation. There's not a chance in hell I would sit down and ever write a book.
Actually, that is an idea. I mean, I know some people who have taken put in their podcast recordings to a ghostwriter who's then transcripts and shaped
100%. Yeah. So it's one of those things that I think, you find the thing you really enjoy doing. It's the thing you would do anyway. It's for everyone. That's why most people started their business. I would probably do this thing for free. I remember telling people, my mom, she hated the fact I was not going to get my master's degree. I walked out of grad school and I didn't go. I didn't even show up on the first day. And she's like, what? I'm like, Mom, if I had to go get a job at McDonald's today, I would take the broomstick and I would snap the head off it. And in the parking lot during my lunch breaks, I would be teaching people how to properly deadlift and press overhead because I love teaching lifting and barbell movements more than anything in the world. And that would make me happy. I'd be perfectly content with that. And you know who you don't want to go up against? Somebody who would do something for free anyway. You are a fucking dangerous person that would do that. And that's, I think, the beginning of all of our businesses. And unfortunately, with so many people being displaced due to the pandemic, you now need to find what is that new thing I would do for free anyway, or I have an abundance of information about it, and I could talk your ear off about it for hours and hours on end. Now, how can I package that up, supply it to people through a medium that I like, that I prefer, and build a job out of that?
I love that. And I think that's a good way for us to end the episode. Kind of the culmination of everything is that is a wonderful, no one's ever phrased it to me that way, because I have no problem sometimes when people ask me to speak to do it for free. Why? Because I love to teach. I love to speak. So Stu, thank you so much for this.
Anytime, Rach.
I greatly appreciate it. I have episodes over on Stu's podcast if you're in the fitness industry and you want to hear a bit more of me and him together. As always, if you guys will jump into the Business Bites Facebook group, we'll have a thread on this episode. I would love to hear what pivots, if any, that you've been doing during pandemic, and I'll talk to y'all next week.
Thanks for joining Rachel on this episode of the Business Bites. For show notes, a list of recommended tools, or referenced episodes, you can find them at businessbitespodcast.com. Until next time.